Turning Point USA is continuing, and it is. I mean, we are so blessed to have more work than we even could ever dream of. I mean, it's beautiful.
Erika, Grace and I will support you and your babies the way you and Charlie were there for us in our darkest days. Charlie, we will miss your words of wisdom, your high-pitched laugh. It was kind of awkward.
As if watching Erika Kirk flip on the fake tears like a switch wasn't already hard to stomach. People thought that was the peak of disrespect, but nope, turns out that was only part of the setup. Because Erika didn't just show up grieving, she showed up managed. Enter Stacy Sheridan. Blonde, stiff smile, wide-eyed stare, and always positioned just a little too close. Once you clock her, you can't unsee her. Every single public appearance Erika makes after Charlie's death, Stacy is right there, hovering, whispering, steering the moment like it's all choreographed. It doesn't feel organic, it feels controlled, and people noticed fast. The Medal of Honor ceremony really sealed it for a lot of viewers. This should have been about honoring Charlie and standing with his parents in their grief.
Love you, Erika! Charlie! 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 Love you, Erika! Charlie! Charlie! Charlie!
Instead, Erika stood glued to Stacy. Not the family, not the people who raised him. That visual alone raised serious eyebrows, because in moments like that, placement matters, and Stacy's position spoke loud. So, who exactly is Stacy Sheridan, and why are insiders saying she's actually more dangerous than Erika? According to people connected to TPUSA, Stacy has been a quiet power player for years. Behind the scenes, insiders allegedly labeled her the grifter-in-chief, and they say that nickname wasn't a joke. The claim is that she allegedly ran money through a web of private companies that all mysteriously loop back to her orbit. On official records, Stacy was listed as a senior advancement director at Turning Point USA, but that title kept shifting without explanation. One minute it's one role, the next minute it's senior director of development. Same building, different label. And here's what that really means in simple terms. Stacy brings in wealthy donors and allegedly takes massive commissions for every major connection she secures.
The devastating loss of Charlie Kirk, my incredible husband at UVU, Caleb has persisted with the same gift.
But that's where things start getting even stranger. People who've worked around her say Stacy doesn't just fundraise. She controls narratives, manages optics, and positions herself where power lives. And when you start connecting the dots, Erika suddenly looks less like the planner and more like the face being propped up. The deeper people dig into Stacy's background, the more unsettling the patterns become. And now, many are asking the same question out loud. Was Erika really running the show, or was Stacy the one pulling the strings the whole time? Do you notice anything off about this photo? Because once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Charlie, we will miss your words of wisdom, your high-pitched laugh. It was kind of awkward. And the way your voice would always soften when you spoke to Erika and your children.
There's a clear physical gap between Erika Kirk and Charlie's parents during the Presidential Medal of Freedom ceremony. No shared grief, no comfort, no closeness. Instead of standing together in loss, they're completely separated. And that silence says a lot. And look closer. Who's actually holding Erika? It's not Charlie's parents, it's Stacy Sheridan. That alone makes this moment feel staged. The body language screams coordination, not emotion. Meanwhile, Charlie's parents are the only ones who look truly shattered, like they're carrying real pain, not performing it. Then there's another moment that raised eyebrows fast. Stacy is right back next to Erika again, this time sitting beside her in the car on the way to speak at Charlie's memorial. Same positioning, same closeness, same energy. At this point, it doesn't feel accidental. It feels intentional.
But it was his naive audaciousness. Yes, technically, Charlie was my boss, but it really never felt that way.
And if people thought Erika's acting was uncomfortable to watch, Stacy somehow manages to outdo her. Stacy gives Erika serious competition when it comes to wiping away tears that don't seem to exist. At least Erika came prepared with a handkerchief as a prop. Stacy didn't even bother with that much effort. There was one moment during Stacy's speech at Charlie's memorial that really stood out. She made this fast little gesture, like she was wiping away a tear, except there was clearly nothing there. No moisture, no smudge, nothing. It looked rehearsed, rushed, and strangely hollow. But the real issue wasn't just the fake tear swipe. This was supposed to be a eulogy. Instead, let's break down what Stacy actually said. She starts with, "I met him at a very important big donor event." Okay, interesting opener. Then comes the name drop, David Horowitz. Of course! And just in case that wasn't enough, she adds that it was in Palm Beach. Totally casual, right? Then it gets even stranger. Stacy openly says she didn't think much of Charlie at first. That's a wild way to start honoring someone who just passed. And it doesn't stop there. She goes on to say Charlie went on a quest to hire her. And what finally convinced her was realizing how naive he was. Let that sink in. That wasn't a tribute. That was a flex wrapped in a memorial speech.
What ultimately made me want to join Charlie's cause and Charlie's team because he began a quest to hire me after meeting me. I was reluctant at first, but it was his naive audaciousness to change the world that ultimately sold.
Now this next part gets just as wild because Stacy goes on to say that yes, technically, Charlie was her boss. Cue the tight smile, the awkward pause, the weird vibe. But then she follows it up by saying she always thought of him as her little brother. Hold up, that's a strange thing to say about someone who signs your checks. In any normal workplace, that kind of comment would set off alarms fast. With employees talking like that, you don't even need outside enemies, because the disrespect is already baked in, and somehow, it still gets worse. Remember earlier when insiders at TPUSA allegedly referred to Stacy Sheridan as the grifter-in-chief? Well, now the money trail starts making those whispers sound a lot louder. Reports suggest Stacy was pulling in around $180,000 a year as a senior advancement director. That's the role responsible for fundraising for Turning Point USA. Solid salary, steady income, nothing small about that. But here's where things start looking real strange.
My name is Stacy Sheridan. 8 years ago, I met Charlie in a crowded ballroom in West Palm Beach at a David Horowitz Freedom Center event.
At the same time she's earning that paycheck, records show she allegedly owned multiple outside entities that were bringing in millions for her personally. And then there's the paperwork. Stacy appears on a Form 990 as a key employee. And then, suddenly, she doesn't. 1 year she's listed, the next she's gone, completely missing from the filings. Now here's the part that makes people question everything. Even after she disappears from the official forms, she still shows up on the organization's website, preserved on the Wayback Machine. That means someone didn't forget to list her. It means she was quietly scrubbed after the fact, hoping nobody would catch it. According to research shared by a user at TER Intel on X, Stacy was allegedly being paid as an employee while simultaneously being hidden as one.
She's actually raising money as a fundraiser hired by the company, being paid a salary, and then she creates an LLC. She's got Cloverstone Ventures, Lion Rock Ventures, GSM Strategies, and she's taking money, millions of dollars for Turning Point USA. She's filtering it through her company, taking a commission in the $500,000 range and the $100,000 range.
And that's not even the full picture. On top of her salary, insiders claim Stacy also took commissions on every single fundraiser she brought in through her own companies. That's what people call triple dipping. Here's how it allegedly worked. She's hired as a fundraiser. That's income stream 1. She's paid a salary. Income stream 2. Then she sets up multiple LLCs and routes fundraising through them. Income stream 3. And once you see that structure laid out, a lot of unanswered questions suddenly start making uncomfortable sense.
Yes, technically, Charlie was my boss, but it really never felt that way. Far more than my boss, I felt like he was my little brother.
Cloverstone Ventures, Lion Rock Ventures, GSM Strategies, and that's just scratching the surface. There are so many entities tied back to Stacy that it starts feeling intentional, not accidental. Suddenly, money raised in the name of Turning Point USA isn't just going straight to the organization, it's being routed through Stacy's private companies first. And what happens next? She allegedly takes a cut. Not pocket change either. We're talking massive commissions, hundreds of thousands at a time. 500,000 here, 100,000 there. Add it up, and before you know it, those cuts stack into the millions. Now stop and really think about how wild that is. Stacy is allegedly taking commissions on the exact job she's already being paid a salary to do. Same work, double benefit, except the second stream runs through her own personally interested LLCs. That's not hustle. That's a serious conflict that should have been disclosed. And here's where paperwork matters.
So on September 2nd, which is, of course, just 1 week before he lost his life, Charlie surprised the company by announcing that he was putting together a Doge department. There's a lot of pork. We don't know where this money is going. People are just accepting checks. Again, this is the whole purpose of the Department of Doge. You put us in there, and we're going to figure out how all of these bureaucrats are just wasting tax dollars. Really kind of a nice way of saying we're going to conduct an audit of the government, right? That's the only way to look at what Doge was. It's an audit, and then you cut the fat, and you see where the money's actually going.
There are specific IRS forms designed for this exact situation. Schedule L, Schedule G. This information is supposed to be clearly laid out on the Form 990 so donors know where their money is going. The IRS knows what's happening. Transparency is the whole point, but instead, that information appears to be hidden. Not explained, not clarified, just quietly missing. So now people are asking the obvious question. Why would Stacy Sheridan go through all this effort only to turn around and hide it? And then there's the website behavior. Why list her publicly as a senior advancement director or senior developer, and then suddenly remove her entirely? That's not normal housekeeping. That looks like cleanup. Because now, unless you already know her name and search for it directly, she's basically invisible.
There arrived a moment when Charlie felt that the money was disappearing. He felt that, again, according to sources, that the company was burning through cash too quickly, and Charlie set about finding out why and how this was happening.
That kind of quiet erasing doesn't happen by accident. Titles don't just vanish, and people don't just disappear from official listings for no reason. And when you combine the hidden filings, the rerouted funds, and the sudden digital wipe, it paints a picture that leaves a lot of donors asking questions they never expected to ask. The title changes alone should have raised alarms. You can track it all through the website history. One version lists her clearly, another version quietly removes her, and suddenly she's nowhere to be found. Yet at the same time, she's missing from the Form 990 filings where disclosure should be mandatory. That's not a typo. That's not an oversight. I'll let you decide what that means, but stacked together, this starts looking real serious.
Caleb has persisted with the same gift.
And this brings us straight to the internal TPUSA audit Charlie wanted to push through. According to Candace Owens, just days before he was assassinated, Charlie sent out an internal memo to staff announcing a full audit of the organization. Not a discussion, not a suggestion, a real audit. That means reviewing finances, tracking donor money, and identifying exactly who was getting paid and how. Candace even obtained a screenshot of that memo dated September 2nd. In it, Charlie tells employees to get serious about the organization's finances and tighten everything up. That wasn't casual talk. That was leadership stepping in.
I never dated here because I saw vicariously through my roommate how terrible it was. Somehow getting drinks was the replacement of having coffee and breakfast. I personally would rather have coffee or brunch with someone than going. I don't drink. I find it unproductive, not because I'm holier than whatever. I just don't operate that way. But I always thought it was very strange how she would go to drinks with one guy.
He was clearly preparing to put real systems in place to make sure donor money was being handled properly and transparently. Let's be clear, Charlie wasn't just asking questions anymore. He was positioning himself to get answers. And when you line that up with everything else we've covered and the shifting titles, the missing disclosures, the rerouted money, the timing gets uncomfortable fast. Because then you circle right back to Stacy Sheridan, the same person who openly said she never thought of Charlie as her boss, but instead as her little brother.
The defense wants to ban cameras in the courtroom. How do you feel about that?
There were cameras all over my husband when he was murdered. There have been cameras all over my friends and family mourning. There have been cameras all over me, analyzing my every move, analyzing my every smile, my every tear. We deserve to have cameras in there. Why not be transparent? There's nothing to hide. I know there's not, because I've seen what the case is built on. Let everyone see what true evil is. This is something that could impact a generation and generations to come.
That statement hits different when you factor in everything else, especially when she was allegedly funneling millions of dollars through her own companies while being paid inside the organization. Now look at where she is today, always right beside Erika. Every appearance, every moment, acting less like a friend and more like a handler, managing proximity, managing optics, managing the narrative. That's not random behavior, that's positioning. So what's really going on here? When you connect the dots, the story doesn't get clearer. It gets heavier. And then there's that moment everyone remembers, when Erika accidentally said grift instead of grit. At the time, people laughed it off as a slip of the tongue. But looking back now, that moment doesn't feel accidental anymore. It feels like the truth sneaking out when the mask slipped for just a second. If this breakdown made you stop and think, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment with your thoughts, and share this with anyone who needs to see it. These conversations only move forward when people speak up. And don't go anywhere, because this story is still unfolding. I'll see you in the next video.